Welcome back to the good news. Recently I was at a National Speakers Association event, and one of the speakers was very interesting, and I thought, this would make for good radio. Have you ever heard someone speak that you're like, oh, I hope I don't have to listen to that voice very long? Or maybe you're like me and you're on a tour. I went on the Cave of the Winds tour last weekend, and the woman had a cheerleader voice and, sorry to say, a speech impediment. Now, that makes for an interesting combination for a tour guide because I could not understand a word she said in an hour-long tour, and I really wanted to learn about the cave, so I was kind of disappointed. And I thought, wow, that is a voice that could use a presentation and speaking voice expert like Hilary Blair from Articulate. And Hilary, your speech was so interesting. I had no idea that you could work with the voice so much. I mean, so how did you get into this, helping people to present themselves better, to be able to speak with a voice that will, work for a crowd, be respected, at a speaking event?
As usual, it's because I had trouble with my voice. I was an actor, a child actor, and things were grooving along just fine until I started hitting adolescence and then into college years. And for some reason, where I got all stuck and things started happening was with my voice. So a voice that I've been able to sing and act and have no problem with it. Everything got stuck. So I was in summer stock, so theater, and I met a really wonderful woman with an amazing voice, and she sent me to her teacher in New York City, and he got me back on track with my voice, and ever since then I've been basically obsessed with the speaking voice.
With the voice.
Yes.
So when people come to you, I know that a lot of, business people come to you with, big organizations like, Janus and Staples, Hunter Douglas, American Express. What do they want from you when they say, hey, I want to hire you? What do they want to accomplish?
If it's one person, usually they're feeling like their idea of where they can be is not quite where they are. Sometimes people are promoted one level above where they want to be. And they're like, With groups, it can be a lot now with groups that used to train live or be live, and now they're having to do webinars, they're having to do any kind of virtual training, a lot of phone conferences, and the voice isn't working out, as well as live training. We do a lot of presentation coaching for conferences, big events, keynoting, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because I go to a lot of swim meets, and the other moms are always calling their kids.
Yes.
And so I'll say, well, you want me to do it for you? I'll be like, Jake, and they always can hear me, but not the other moms with the tiny little voices.
Yes.
What are some of the common mistakes people make with their voices? What does it come down to?
Comes down to not letting the breath flow.
Okay.
And as annoying as it can be for people, like, oh, you're going to talk to me about breath again for the voice. It's true. And where we hold tension. So forgive me, moms, but I call it the mom voice. So the mom voice gets this really tight thing. Yeah, it's up here, and I jokingly say, and when I do a discussion about it, I say, driving along and everything's fine, and then you see something that's making you nervous, and then you're like, sit down, everybody sit down. You should get into this tight voice, this really tight thing going on. You're like, sit down. And many reasons, I'm sure, I feel that one of the number one reasons is you don't want to have too much emotion coming out. When we have too much breath behind our voice, we can share more emotion than we want. And moms are trying to be pulled together. Everything's fine. Just sit down because there's something up ahead. That kind of voice. And then it becomes a habit.
Yes.
Sometimes we go into...
We talk like that all the time.
I know. It gets kind of stuck. I call it mom voice recovery.
Mom voice recovery. Yes. I love that. Yep. What about the girl that I had the tour with at Cave of the Winds, the cheerleader voice, my father-in-law called it.
Yes. So was it high, piercing?
Really
high. So a little girl voice too?
Yes, and she ran her words together.
Oh, so everything... So she'd memorized it and there was no thought behind it. She just ran
memorized it and all the words went together like the way my 5 and 6-year-olds read.
Yes.
With no punctuation.
Yeah, we talk about speaking in thought chunks.
Yes.
Versus in sentences or in the memorized sort of link of words that you have. So she wasn't even thinking through it. She was just gurging.
Yes.
Nice word, huh? She was just throwing it out there.
I got about 5 or 6 words. It was so hard. And it became like a game for me to see if I could understand anything she was telling us.
Was it in monotone also?
Get this. The tour guides behind us and in front of us, I could hear and understand them.
No way.
Yes, so I almost wanted to leave my group and sneak back to another group with the lady with the deep voice.
Oh my gosh. So it was high and everything ran together and like, all right, here we go. And Just like
Yes,
on. Oh,
yes.
not fun.
Yeah, no.
Tiring.
Yeah, and I thought, well, how did she get hired? Maybe there isn't like a big run on people trying to apply for the Cave of the Winds tour, job, but yeah.
Or typical from the acting world, she might have had a great audition.
Yes.
And then it didn't pan out.
Yes,
That
yes.
sometimes happens.
So, okay, so what do we do with how do you lower a voice if you want to
Right.
have a deeper voice? And some women, when they want to present, like when I was anchoring or doing the weather, it helped to have a lower voice because I found that people respected me a little bit more.
We have a lot of ideas about people based on voice. I'm going to talk about lowering the voice maybe differently than you think, because there is a lowering of the pitch which can happen, which I could do like this. I could drop my voice like this.
Yes.
But you looking at me, it sounds a little creepy, right?
Yeah,
I'm,
totally
I'm a
creepy.
small female. Yes.
See,
So-
Moose is creeped out too, aren't you, Moose?
Yes, I'm a little. I don't know what to think right now.
I was like,
But I have a creepy voice
That's a
too
creepy
that
voice.
weirds my
Hi.
wife out.
wow, we went to a different radio show. So the lowering the voice, that's the lowering the pitch. What I'm talking about is letting the breath flow. So if I'm talking to you right now and the breath is flowing, I'm a small female, so my voice is basically high. If I then constrict the breathing and I go into here, I haven't changed the pitch of my voice. All I've done is remove the breath. So it sounds thinner, tighter, and it is. It will strain my voice to keep talking here in little girl voice. If I
Yeah.
start bringing the breath back in, it has the overtones, undertones, that sense. It has a rounder sound and it carries. It's easier to speak this way. And you can hear, I think, it's a little less annoying, hopefully. And it's still, you can hear my voice is still high. I still have a high voice, but it has the overtones and
Yeah,
undertones
some
that have the
depth to it.
harmonics.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So that is, I compare it to a car radio. We need some bass and we need some treble. Too much bass, your car thumps. Too much treble, it's annoying. We need to find that nice balance, and our bodies are designed that way to have that balance. We just cut them off for different reasons, all kinds of reasons. And guys tend to default to the bass.
Yes.
And then you get this guy who has a nice voice, and you're like, what? It's like, and they rumble, and they get praised for the rumble, that nice rumbling sound, but sometimes you can't even understand them.
Yeah.
So we both need the balance. Bass and treble, and we
Okay.
work through some exercises to just to find them again. We do it at times in our life, just not all the time.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. All right. So why do you think the voice is so important in terms of credibility? I mean, you do not find an anchor woman with, upspeak and the cheerleader voice and, all of that. You just don't.
No.
So why is the voice so important for us to be heard, respected, listened to when we're speaking, in front of a big crowd or on television or on the radio? Why? Why is it important?
The breath is our truth. That's what's coming through, and our voice rides on the exhale of our breath. And I know that sounds probably a little woo-woo-y. and and having been on stage and having done film, I was all about the body and the visual.
Yeah.
And the eyes and all that. When I started, I do a lot of voiceover, a lot of recording, and I started realizing, wait a minute, we read so much into that voice. We expect things based on that. Everyone hearing me right now has decided a zillion things about me. Probably many of them are correct, right?
Yes.
Some of them aren't.
That you're
'cause-
fabulous.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
No,
very
no,
bright.
thanks,
Yeah.
Mom. I appreciate that. And so that idea of hearing the voice, we're a visual society. We put a lot of visuals on it, and we can read whether we believe someone or not. We hear that. We know whether we believe the lie or not. Think of it with your kids. Think of
Interesting.
it with a friend. What are they hiding? What are they holding back? So the truth can or cannot come through in the voice, and I think it's really important.
All right, one of the things I think that ruins credibility, besides just a high voice that won't fly in a lot of professional speaking circles, is upspeak. Can you explain to us what it is?
Yeah.
Because I know Moose has friends. He's in his 20s.
Yes.
that
I
use
have friends.
upspeak.
Oh,
Yes, I know
you're
you
kind.
Have, no, I know you. I know you have friends that use upspeak. So explain what it is and why we
Yes.
need to get rid of it.
Right. And upspeak is simply asking a question at the end of every line without realizing it. So every time we end a phrase, it goes up. We often say it in introducing ourselves. So, hi, I'm Hilary Blair. But there's an intention in there that's like, I think, or maybe, and I'm asking a question about that. I would say that most of us use upspeak to not appear pushy.
Okay.
So, hi, I was wondering if I could hang out here. I'm running some errands and I just have a minute. And we da-da-da-da-da, that upspeak so we don't sound pushy. It's a way of backing off often of our strength, unless we're really asking a question. One of the things I just did was a question.
And is it that thing that teenagers do too when they're like he came over and he was like telling me and he was like
that's a whole you're going into all the great code. I call them code habits. So when we code switch, so that's the like or the filler words. So they're all forms of communicating. So there are reasons for them. I do mention that we don't create habits, right, in order to be poor at anything. I have a crude way of saying that, but we don't create habits to be poor. We create habits to survive. So there are reasons
more
for
likable.
Yes, absolutely. So there are times when upspeak could be helpful, but we want to know what our habit is, right? We want to make sure, I'm doing upspeak. It's not helpful right now. It undermines credibility. It makes it seem like you don't know what you're talking about.
You're not self-assured. You're not confident in the
you want to land things down.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And those filler words, they tend to come in all shapes and sizes and forms for all of us. We all have them. They sort of morph as we move through life. So like may move into so, or so may move into and. And then there's the fry voice. Another one is the fry voice.
What's the fry voice?
The fry voice is being discussed a lot right now in all different mediums, in the acting world, but also the business world. So the fry voice is, I think, another attempt to not sound over-enthusiastic and they come down into the fry. It's like, oh my gosh, yes, and here. Or if your voice is really high and then you go into the fry. Again, there's nothing wrong with the fry. We all use the fry at times when we're kind of tired or we're kind of go at the end. The problem is, again, when it becomes a habit or we don't realize it's there.
So you want us to be more conscious of what we're doing with language.
Yes, and that letting that voice flow. Yes. Yes.
So when you work with people, what are some of the common things that you teach them to come across in a business setting or in a webinar? Obviously, the breath.
Owning their power.
And what about also the speed?
Yes.
Here's what I did when I was anchoring. I had an anchor man that thought I was a complete idiot.
Oh, no.
And it's just because he said that he was a demographic of one, so he was only interested in what he was interested in, sports and things like that, right? So when I would say something, people would laugh. It would irritate him. So I would say things real quickly because I knew he'd be irritated, so I wanted to get it out really quick so I would irritate him less and I could also get the information out as fast as I could.
Yes.
Yeah. So I minimized myself.
Yes. So that empowering, getting people to take up more space can be vocal as well. We tend to go quickly also if we're intellectual and we're just doing the consonants. So clicking along, I just want to talk to you about some facts. There's some things going on. I want you to check your figures and da-da-da-da. So the facts only, ma'am. Versus allowing the vowel energy, again, totally the actor world here, letting that vowel energy come through is so you feel more of me. So even if I say the facts and the facts only, ma'am, with a little more vowel space, I'm more connected to you. Sometimes people have too many vowels. So you have the drip. So you have the aunt whom we love, but she's like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in ages. Oh. And it's all,
Something like that. Yeah, it's so fun to see her, though, because it seems so, overjoyed.
She's oozing love on you.
She is.
I think I'm that aunt already.
Are you the aunt?
Yeah.
So finding that nice balance. When we work with business people, they often default to the consonant heavy because it's more fact-oriented. We say the vowels are the emotional energy and the consonants are the intellectual energy. Also, with phone and webinars, when we want to be clearer, many of us will start to click to just the consonants. And if people are listening right now, you'll realize it's harder to understand me when I click to the consonants. We need the flow of the vowels. It's easier to understand me if I have the flow of breath going.
You're obsessed with the voice, aren't you?
Obsessed.
Give us some more examples. This is interesting because even though I might recognize it when you do it, if you told me to do it, I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? If you said, do the vowels, do the click on the consonants, or, use the raspy voice or whatever.
Yeah, and helping people to slow down. So slowing down, one very important person in my life, mentor, came along, and I'm a very fast speaker. I get paid for that. I have very fast articulators. Some people run fast. My articulators can move really quickly, and I can send out copy really quickly, and it's great for, any sort of advertisement or something.
If you have to do the medical, if you're doing some kind of medicine, you don't take this if you have, spina bifida, or if you also have a rash and you have a vomiting.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So they don't have to even speed it up. They just use that.
Yes.
Not translating so well to everyday life because I'm not connecting to anyone. So the best thing someone said to me was, that's great that you can speak quickly, but do you care about connecting? That started to slow me
'cause you
down.
won't
I was
connect
like,
if you're
no.
speaking too
I was
quickly.
about, if they're not quick enough to catch up, or I'm throwing, it was like throwing words at people.
And I think sometimes elderly people who listen don't understand when I speak too quickly.
Yes, because they have to, they're hearing not the full range usually, and they have to figure out what's going on. So caring that it's landing, making sure it's landing, and I know I'm using my hands right now because I can't talk without them.
How do you
so I'm landing on you. I'm thinking, making sure my phrase lands on you versus just sort of throwing it out there and not really worrying what happens, just tossing it.
So what are the tips? Because I have a friend, and I don't know if you've met her yet, Moose, but she has a show on this station as well, and she's well aware. She speaks much more faster than I speak, and so yeah.
I've heard the rumors. I haven't been able to experience it yet, but I'm bracing myself for when it happens. I'm actually looking forward to it.
And I love her because that's her personality. I mean, she has so much to tell you, and she's so full of love, and she's full of all kinds of energy, and she has so much to share.
And what's funny when you speak quickly is that if you try to slow down, I describe this train of cars behind you, and you feel when you slow down they're all going to crash into each other and you're going to lose your train of thought, literally, like right, all of that happens. So you have to learn to slow the whole train of thought back, because if you're a fast thinker, it has to come out right there, and the next thing's dropping right in. It's like some video game. Boom, 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 boom. And so being able to slow the whole train down is important and takes practice.
Yes.
And those vowels, when you first start to slow down, you'll feel like you're talking like this. Yes. And you're like, whoa. And on the other side of it, it's interesting because it will make you feel more vulnerable. When we use our vowels, when our breath is fully connected, when our voice is fully authentic, we feel more vulnerable, which is stronger, but doesn't always feel that way.
You know, one of my girlfriends that comes on the show, in the South, they speak more slowly. And so she says that she's my translator because we're on in Birmingham as well. And so if y'all are listening to what Angie is trying to say to y'all, and she says she's my translator for her Southern friends.
So why Southerners with the dialect that is perfect is that they have that vowel energy that makes them sound warmer.
Yes.
And more inviting.
They do.
They have a warmth about them, and that comes with the dialect.
Yeah,
yes.
I love them. I love Southerners.
There you go. Yes, it's like, hello.
And what is it about people from the East Coast that makes them come
saying?
Across as not as warm?
Back off.
What
I'm
is it?
Full card-carrying New Englanders, so just back off. We don't use the vowels as much. We can clip along. You know, there are some studies on dialect.
You still love people.
Yeah, and there are some Southerners who might not be.
Right.
Right. So, yes. And it's simply that we react to consonants differently than we do. And placement. I mean, I know that we attach intelligence to voices.
Isn't that interesting?
Oh, it's scary. Isn't that scary?
Yeah.
We decide where someone, went to school. We decide how much money they make. We make all based on a voice, which may be wrong. But in New England, we can have a tighter sound. Not necessarily that we're unkind. We just kind of click along.
Yeah. What else do you teach people? What other examples do you try to fix?
So what do I try to fix?
Yeah,
I really say to people, we're trying to find you in the midst of all that we created to hide ourselves. We're trying to get you back on. Yes.
The heart, the emotion, the real depth of who you are as a person.
Yeah, because there's some sort of myths about voice and public speaking where there's like a cookie cutter formula.
Yes.
And that's not true. We all are individuals. So another theater analogy I would use, and I do use, is we can all play Hamlet. So we'll all, male, female, doesn't matter. We all can play Hamlet. That script is pretty set. It was written by this cool guy, right? William Shakespeare.
He's
maybe,
so cool.
Yeah. But we'll all play it very differently. Even if we use the same words, we all have to come to it differently. And that's the theater lens through which I work with people, is that, okay, that's what you have to say. Let's find you in the midst of all that. Let's bring you forward. And we also do, sorry, yeah.
No, you go ahead.
Public speaking, too. So not only the voice, we line up voice with verbal, with nonverbal. So we're talking, or message, sometimes I say.
So is that the body language too part of it?
Yeah.
Which you can't see right now.
You can't.
No.
But I'm
really
here
tense.
and I'm open. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Great. Yeah.
That whole like the arm crossing and the leg crossing and the other things. Oh, interesting.
And I use those habits often. Yes, we can read them in other people, but you know what's really interesting is they're really great for us to read in ourselves. So you say, oh, I'm crossing my arms. Maybe I don't feel comfortable, or maybe I'm cold, or maybe I'm closed off. So noticing in yourself is really important. The best books on body language are books about poker players.
Really?
Because they read body language all the time.
Interesting.
So tells, they talk about all the different tells. The tells under the table and above the table.
Wow, that is
Yes.
so cool. Now, before we wrap up, I want to talk just one more time about breath, because that really seems to be, we keep coming back around to breath. So what are some tips for us to properly use breath in order to communicate better and for our voice to have that, what did you call it, the range?
Yeah, so the range, so that we tuned like a radio so that it flows. The number one thing is to know that we only use our lungs and to breathe. So we don't have to breathe with any other body part. We use discussions about using other body parts to breathe, like breathe into your belly, breathe into your toes, breathe into your diaphragm. You can't breathe without your diaphragm unless you're paralyzed. But I also have recently, so people take yoga, and there's a yogic breath which is emphasizing different things. And it's great. It's about relaxing, and there's a whole expansion going on, and an energizing thing. Not always completely in alignment with the breath that is conducive for speaking best, which is most efficient for speaking. So when I talk about the breath, and I do yoga and all of that, think of the athletic breath, the breath that you use when you go running, the breath that whatever, cleaning the house, whatever it might be, whatever athletic. So I have
Moose
people.
knows I only run when I'm fleeing.
Exactly.
So,
And I run away.
Yes.
Exactly. So that breath? Yeah. So, except that's the flight or fight breath. So
Yes,
that's, oh my gosh, we into a whole other thing, right? So that, when we're nervous, when we're scared, we tend to breathe high clavicular, high in our chest, a high breath. That's the shallow breath, not as conducive for speaking because it causes tension. It causes tension in our throat area, which causes that tight voice, that go back to that mom voice or that nervous voice, that thing. We're looking to get rid of that tension. If we think exhale first, we do it naturally when we're a little ticked off, right? We do the exhale when we know we need to calm down.
Yeah.
Knowing that we're a vacuum, the way our body works, we're a vacuum, you exhale, the air will come right back in, deeper in our lungs. When we breathe high, that constricts and causes tension. So what we're looking for is to get that nice, deep breath, and think of breathing sideways. Our lungs want to move behind our ribs sideways.
Okay.
And then letting
Make
the
your
breath
ribs come out from side to side.
Exactly. So that sideways breath. And then let your breath fall out with speaking. Let it flow, knowing that your words are surfing on your exhale.
Oh, I like that. You like that, Moose?
I just want to go surfing now.
That's
Oh,
good.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of people would you like to work with, Hilary? If people are listening and they're like, wow, I wonder if I need Hilary Blair with Articulate.
I love working with people who want to take it up a notch, people who are already great and want to be completely awesome. We work with beginners as well. You do have to be someone who is open to exploring and trying something on, because it is a little unnerving to move out of habits.
Change.
It's
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
And change is hard. And I've been a teacher for over 35 years now, and there's nothing more I love than seeing someone make a move, as small as it might be, that helps them in their relationships, helps them in their job, helps them feel better about themselves, helps them step more into who they are, and they can impact the world that way.
Yeah, it's great. I had a girlfriend at NBC in Los Angeles, and she wanted to be a reporter, and we all thought, oh my goodness, how's she going to do that with that voice? And she did change it. She ended up, being able to do some network work, as a reporter, because she was able to change her voice.
Find the voice. We have beautiful
Yes.
instruments. These instruments are amazing. The only thing that gets in the way is us.
Yes.
They can do, I teach screaming, I teach all kinds of stuff, because this
wow.
thing can do awesome things. Our tension, our stress, our nervousness, our fear, they get in the way, and we just work on moving through that and finding the voice that's there.
I don't need any lessons in screaming or yelling. I've got
Yeah, if
3
my
little
wife
kids.
tries to sign up for that screaming class, deny her access, okay?
Yeah, it's not therapeutic screaming, Moose.
That's what I need, I guess.
I love
Punk
it.
bands on stage, yeah.
I love it. All right, Hilary Blair, Articulate. How do people get in touch with you, Hilary?
Our website, articulaterc.com. And on there you can find, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Google+, Articulate, Real and Clear, Articulate RC.
And also, you can always email me if you want to get in touch with Hilary or anyone you hear in my show, angieaustinnews@gmail.com. Thanks, Hilary.
You rock. Thank
All right,
you.
we'll totally be right back. And
Totally. Bye.
yeah, it's like so much fun. I
Woo!
love
Did you
Articulate.
like it? Awesome.